Hello, and welcome to Thunder from Down Under Travel. My name's Buckaroo Bob, and I'll be taking you on your adventure today. Today we're going to be going right off the coast of Australia, a little bit east, to an island called New Zealand. And just on the northern part of New Zealand, we have an area called Rotorua. And we're going to be going just there to the Bay of Plenty, which is where our prime suspect is. So, when we look on the map, we're going to be going just about 38 degrees south latitude. We're going to have some nice summer temperatures, anywhere from about 60 to about 70 degrees Fahrenheit. And then during our winter months, we're going to have anywhere from about the mid-40s up to the 60 degrees Fahrenheit. So pretty mild temperatures all year round. Pretty nice. Another thing, since we're down here near Australia, we're going to have some nice humidity. We got a relative humidity of about 76%. All year round, which is actually really great, and it's going to give us some really great features. Let's take a little closer look at some of the features we're going to be seeing. Alright, I know that all of that looked really beautiful and really appealing, but I'm sure you're wondering exactly what all that is and where it actually came from. Well, the main reason is because the Bay of Plenty, which is that region where Rotorua is at, is a geothermal paradise. Now you're wondering, what does that mean? That means that there's a lot of things going on under the Earth's surface and on the Earth's surface that's causing a lot of changes. And Rotorua is actually built on an area called the Taupo Volcanic Zone. And this volcanic zone is causing magma to rise under the Earth's surface. It's causing gases to rise. It's heating the groundwater that's underneath that whole area. That groundwater is heating. It's coming out. It's spewing through fissures. It's just making a ton of changes. And we're going to start seeing some of those changes. Starting with the first one, which is the eruption of Mount Tarawera in 1886. Let's take a look at some of the destruction. Now, that last picture that I just showed you was a really big fissure. And what we mean by fissure is pretty much a big crack in the earth, and it can be formed from the faults moving, the plates moving and causing faults. It can be formed from explosions like volcanoes, just anything like that, but that is a big fissure, and it took out a huge chunk of landmass. And one of the things that was there before that eruption happened were these beautiful, they called them white and pink terraces, and they were actually thought to be the 8th wonder of the world until that explosion happened. And what these terraces were, it was just simply pretty much silica deposits that were stuck in the water that got deposited up over thousands and thousands of years. So we're going to take a little closer look at that too. As you could see, those things probably would have been absolutely beautiful, but unfortunately they were wiped away. One other pretty awesome feature that they have down there are these things that are called boiling mud baths. And that sounds pretty typical. You might go to a salon and you might see them at salons and stuff. But what this is it's something pretty different. It's actually a process of weathering down the rock that's around it. So what happens is we've got this groundwater that's underneath the rock, and we've got the rock on top. And when all that heat and all those gases from beneath the Earth's surface rise, they heat that water starts to rise, and it actually has sulfide in it. And that sulfide rises, and once it starts making contact with that rock and the air, it has a chemical reaction, and it starts wearing away and weathering away at that rock, and that rock turns into this nice silty mud that ends up boiling, and it just bubbles and bubbles and bubbles. But it's actually a process of weathering, and it doesn't look like typical weathering, because we think of that as, you know, when the wind comes through or when water comes through and it washes rock away or anything like that. But this is actually a pretty pretty subtle form of weathering. So we're going to take a few looks at that in a little deeper detail. How would you like to take a bath in one of those boiling mud baths? Anyways, we're going to be moving on now. You're probably wondering, there's all this geothermal activity going on, there's all these really hot things and chemicals and gases in the air and everything. How are any species actually going to survive down there? And the cool thing about down there is that there's species that have actually adapted to that sort of environment, those extreme temperatures, those different chemicals that are in the water and also in the air. And I'm just going to name you a few of those. The first one that we have is a species of a leech, which are those things that get on your body and suck out your blood. And these leeches have actually adapted so that they can live in really, really acidic waters, like the lakes that are around there, because they have all of those chemicals that are being released and it's being oxidized and it's really bringing up the acid level in the lakes. That's the first thing that we have. The next one that we have is a type of alpine, which is just a type of tree. And it can actually grow in there. And even though there's really, the ground there isn't that superb, it adapts these special techniques that are able to get down into the ground, and it's able to actually stay there, and it's able to still get nutrients and stuff regardless of the ground quality and the soil quality. And the last one that we have is a really short, when you're looking on the ground, it's a really, really low shrub. And what it's called is a kanukai, which actually grows in the warm grounds around all the geothermal activity. So it actually needs that really, really warm soil in order to grow, and it's pretty much the only thing around, so it doesn't have any sort of competition to like get its roots out or anything like that, because it's the only thing growing around there. So not much competition means it can probably thrive pretty well. So that's just an idea of some of the species that we have there. But, as I said, if you'd like to ever take a trip down to Rotorua, you go ahead and just book your trip through Thunder from Down Under travel sites, and we'd be happy to hook you up. Cheerio!